welcome to another exciting adventure in the updates of the life of Rich, brought to you from Southwark Park live today. Southwark Park, just near Royal Hythe, about 10 minutes from where I live. If you know where I live, kind of southeast Londonish. And yeah, I've just been out and done a nice jolly 6.5 kilometres ish. Now I say ish because the GPS on this phone is absolutely knackered, but I feel like I ran a bit further. I can't quite be sure of that, but you know, I'm old and I'm fat, so you know, everywhere feels like 10 kilometers to me. That's fine. As you can see, I am actually quite kind of, well, the hair's gone bananas. The sweat was pretty rough earlier. It's quite warm today as well. I don't know if it's the same wherever you might be, but basically 24 degrees it was registering earlier, so 24 degrees. Even though it's quite overcast, it's kind of in the air, it's a bit thick and that kind of, yeah, sweaty nonsense that's in the air sometimes, you know. Yeah, and I feel like actually it's almost, it could almost be stormy weather. I don't know if that was on the radar earlier, but you know, there could be a tiny bit more pressure. The electricity will pick up, and before you know it, we get some proper sexy thunderstorms, lightning and thunder and all of that stuff. It's just, oh yeah, it could be wicked, absolutely wicked. So what am I here to waffle about? Not really much, to be honest. Just thought I'd have a splurge, see what came out of my face when I opened it. Yeah, Friday night, isn't it? Got no particular plans at the moment. Am I going out for a little wander in the evening, or see if I can meet up with someone? But problem is, as I've said before, all people I meet up with normally are kind of relationship, married, or you know, long-term relationship couples that stay at home. Basically really boring, so they don't want to come out and have just a cheeky little drink or a sit down. And you know, I'd be quite happy to have a fucking cup of tea or something and play chess if I had to, but it doesn't often happen, unfortunately. So we're going to find some other entertainment. What else? Well, I don't know, so I've got a long weekend all in front of me. There is the possibility that I might be going to a zoo. What zoo was it? It was called Whipsnade. Ah, that's the one, which is the zoo northwest of London. It's actually one of the partner zoos that's, well, partners with London Zoo, but apparently it's the biggest one, and it's also got kind of like a semi-safari-esque area where the animals just roam wild and free, which kind of describes parts of southeast London, to be honest, because there's a lot of fucking animals roaming around here, I've noticed today. Chickens, foxes, I don't want to say wild dogs, but definitely some dogs that are running all over the shop like nutters. Ducks and swans and geese. I tell you, if you walked around the area next to where I am, down the little country, there's like a secret country park, okay, you wouldn't believe that you are less than like half a mile from Canary Wharf, because it is essentially, it's a secret country park where there used to be one of the docks was there, so it's called actually the Russia Dock Woodland. And the area, obviously Surrey Dock, Surrey Quays, and that's famous for all of the docks where the huge great big boats used to come in and deposit lots of wood, lots of, I think they used to bring in oil and stuff like that. But anyway, one of the docks they sold off many years ago, filled it in with mud, soil and other things, and converted it into a kind of little country park thing. So you go in there in the daytime and you get lost in it, and it's pretty funky actually. It's more dense than this park, which is surprisingly leafy again for a bit of South London. But yeah, so you get some cool little sneaky bits of stuff like that around me, and yeah, it's quite a nice area to live really. It's just a shame that times are changing and maybe not the ideal place to be for the moment, but it's done me all right past couple of years. I think you know, my London experience, whatever, it's been definitely something, a challenge at times, but also a joy. You know, you get to be close to everything. I was working right in the centre, and it used to take me 20 minutes to get to work in the centre of Holborn, which is fantastic, to be honest, for a person like me who struggles in the morning and is pretty much always late for everything. Yeah, that's quite useful. But then with this coming world of teleworking, remote working, why do I say teleworking? That's the half French part of me. That is in French, when you say remote working, you say télétravail, which means teleworking, remote work anyway. Yeah, so the world's changing. Lots of people now working remotely and saying, regardless of what happens after the lockdown, they're going to just carry on remote working anyway, which is it's quite good, I guess. It's kind of a big benefit and a bonus for some people. I think it's definitely a benefit for the privileged types, like the middle class folks with a nice house with an office and a quiet space, and not perhaps for people that work in the inner cities and the suburbs where you don't have so much space. You've got screaming kids around you all the time, or you've got, like, your bedroom is the same as your living room, is the same as your kitchen in some places, you know, these very small places. So teleworking does work for some, but not for others. I think actually I enjoyed how I used to do it, in terms of like doing 2 or 3 days in the office and then the opposite from home. So it's kind of evenly split. Go in when you feel like it, or when you feel like you need to. You've got meetings and stuff, and then the rest of the time you can kind of get work done in your own speed. And particularly with my kind of work, you know, I would say consulting, which is it's a really wanky word, I hate it, but it's basically the only way to describe being a general smart ass, and paid to be a general smart ass. They kind of let you just do things at your own pace anyway, so, you know, whether you're in the office in the morning or not, nobody gives a shit as long as you turn up and give them the answers when you need to. So that's quite nice. The dog gave me an evil eye for some reason over there. I don't know what I did with it, but proper just bogging me out. Don't know, I'm gonna go over here. He's only tiny as well. He's just proper giving me evils. Don't know what that's about. You might have noticed through this ramble on here that you're looking at a very, very hairy version of Rich. Probably very tired looking, hobo-esque, as I say quite often. That's again a combination of sleeping only 6 hours a night, probably not eating so well, or not getting out and getting active enough. That's why I need to be out running like I am today, doing a little bit of like park stretching as well. Got to burn it all off, get back to my optimum, which I know I can do. It's just going to take a bit of time. But the hair stuff, I mean, I was going to get it cut, probably, you know, the thing I've been saying for ages is that I need to get a bloody haircut. And then when it came down to it, actually I might just grow it, see what happens. I've never had long hair before, and I find it kind of funny, like the way it just kind of changes shape, size and texture depending on the weather. If I've been out for a run, it just gets lots of volume for some reason, and then when I'm at home I can brush it down and it turns into some kind of comedy, I don't know, I'll show you later, but it's some very, very strange looks. And I think I'm just going to let it go for a bit, see how it goes, and if it does get to the stage where I do genuinely look like a violent criminal or a Neanderthal, then I will, you know, deal with it. But in the meantime I can just about get away with it, so that's what I'm going to do. What about yourself? How are you dealing with the pandemic and the crisis? How has it changed you? How has it changed your way of life, your way of styling and dressing yourself? Have you got more time to look after yourself now, to think when you wake up in the morning, actually I don't need to rush to do this, that and the other. I've got, or perhaps, you know, you work from home already, so it hasn't made a huge change to you at all. You know, would you have noticed? Did you just get more Boris Johnson on the TV and that's about it for you, or not? I don't know. Tell me how the impacts have come into your wee little life. Have you been exploring new opportunities and new ideas for changes in the way you live and act? You know, a lot of people are saying that it's made them think about what's important, you know, what's the priorities, how they've spent their days not looking at what's important and instead just wasting their time kind of going, oh man, get up, go to work, do some bollocks, get home on a train, probably sleep on a train, get home, eat a chips and fish and chips or whatever, watch telly, fall asleep. Great, get up, go to work, do the same again, 5 days a week of that. At the weekend maybe you'll pop to like B&Q or home base and look at some lovely potted plants, and that's that. Some people are kind of looking at their process and thinking, maybe this is a time that I should be reviewing actually and doing some more important stuff. You know, well, I know for me definitely I've been out of work since before the COVID stuff began, for various reasons. I've obviously had some freelance and some in-betweeny bits going on, but yeah, I've been out of proper full-time work for a while, and when the COVID hit, I thought, fuck, how's this going to affect my life and change it? And what was the really sad thing is it really didn't change my life at all. Being out of work and stuck at home in the months prior to the lockdown, and then being stuck at home during the lockdown was almost exactly the same, except for it was harder to get to work. So that's what actually made me a bit sad, because I was like, well, my life obviously hasn't got enough people, it hasn't got enough action, it hasn't got enough contact, I think is the word I'm missing here. Yeah, I need to be out and about. I think I've discussed this before. Active life doesn't just mean being like a gym person or whatever. It means being a doing person, getting up and going to places, using the maximum of your capability to learn, to talk, to try and grow your enjoyment and your appreciation of the world around. And yeah, I think we all could do with that a bit more, I guess. Man, that is a really bad angle. I swear I don't look this bad in real life. It's a lot shinier, a lot better angles. Yeah, so particularly with this, so what was I saying? How this whole lockdown has changed people's way of working. Like, this is where I'm getting these ideas about changing the kind of work I do slightly, changing the way I work, working for me as opposed to working for other people. You know, making something. I had this kind of paranoid moment, and then take you back to March 12th or 11th, I believe it was. Just before the first part of lockdown was kind of announced, I went off to a hospital to go and see my mum, who was in hospital. She had a knee replacement. Now, my mum, she's only, I'm not going to give the exact age, she's in her kind of 60s-ish, but she is probably what I consider to be a vulnerable individual anyway. She's had some, you know, technical issues before with her heart and her blood pressure and stuff, and you know, she's got problems with her knees and her walking, and I just worry about her a lot. I do spend a lot of time worrying about her, and so going into hospital, going under just for even a minor operation, was putting me in a bit of a stress position anyway. And then literally about 2 or 3 days later, they went on the telly and said, oh yeah, don't go to hospitals, you might have COVID. I was like, oh, well, that's useful. I've just been to hospital. What if I've got, you know, I don't know. I live in fucking central London. Then they said, oh yeah, by the way, Southwark, the borough of Southwark in southeast London, has got the highest epidemic type behaviour of COVID, and you should not go outside. So there was me in the heart of the epidemic, surrounded by diseased people, and I'd just been to visit a parent, vulnerable person, a couple of days before. So here we go. If you know me at all, you know that I'm a kind of a slightly anxious person at the best of times, and I definitely had what could be called a hypochondriac anxiety crisis. I just invented this term. What it meant is that I developed symptoms of COVID-19 almost instantly. The moment I put together the dots of me seeing my parent, being in Southwark, all that other stuff. Spent maybe like a week or something in isolation. At this time, the advice was, if you think you have symptoms, wait 7 days. If they develop, then go to the hospital. If not, then you should be alright. That was the kind of advice at the time. Nothing developed, and I kept in contact with my parents, and I kind of half mentioned to them about my panic, but I didn't want to worry them. And they was like, nope, perfectly fine, not a problem. So 2 weeks went by, and yeah, absolutely fine. No symptoms. As a matter of fact, my symptoms were feeling a bit tired and stressed out. Okay, fine. Getting a bit hot. Well, you know, I get hot when I'm stressed, and it was quite warm anyway. And I couldn't breathe. Well, you know, anybody that's seen an anxious person go from standing and healthy to collapse on the floor having a panic attack knows that breathing is quite an abstract concept for an anxious person. But anyway, the point is that during these anxious times where I was thinking maybe I had COVID-19, I did kind of panic a little bit, because I was thinking, well, not only could I have given something to someone, but what if it gets me? You know, there was all these horror stories on the news, on the internet. You know, you should not go on Twitter. Twitter's evil for that kind of stuff, trust me. But there's just so many stories going around about, you know, nobody's safe from it. If you've got any chance of getting it at all, you might die. And yeah, it got to me a little bit, because, you know, I've been, well, I don't know, I've had a little bit of asthma at some point in my childhood. I've had some breathing issues before, where I'm an ex-smoker. Probably explains why I can only run the same pace as a three-legged tortoise. You know, my lungs are a bit shot from misbehaving. So yeah, I did think about the COVID stuff, and how it, you know, what would happen if I died. And I started thinking, what have I done with my life? You know, what if I disappeared today? What would happen? Who would even notice? Would my life have been worth something? All those fucking spreadsheets. You know, I built some great spreadsheets in my time, but trust me, nobody's going to sing about them from the rooftops at some point in the future. Nobody's going to do a nobody's going to write a great epic story about it, or put up a statue and say, God bless that man and his VLOOKUP formulas. So once I'd kind of calmed down a hell of a lot, and I think I went into a bit of reverse after that. I realised that I didn't have it, and I kind of rationalised that all of the things that I was thinking were, well, it's all in here. Amazing, the power of the mind, really, to transform someone from a healthy guy to a disease wreck. But anyway, it also made me realise that I kind of do have these expectations of myself, good or bad, expectations that I should be trying harder, or focusing somehow on something more important. That's basically it. Now, how do you measure importance? We're talking about charity work, you know, helping the poor little orphans in the villages. Well, that's something that would be nice to do, and you know, that's kind of in that area. But I think importance is on a personal level as well as on a general objective level. I think it's about what really gets you in here, you know, what makes you wake up in the morning and go, I am excited by this. I feel that there is some real value in the thing that I'm doing, and I'm proud to do it. Now, some of you some of you people out there in internet land might be very proud of what you do already, and God bless you. I'm very happy for you. You know, that you've found a vocation that it's the thing you always wanted, or maybe it isn't always the thing you wanted, but it's the thing you always needed, and you got to it, and somehow you've realised that this makes you happy, or it makes you fulfilled. That's where I want to be. Now, I've worked hard over the years to get myself out of several pickles when it comes to careers and vocations and whatnot, and trust me, I've had every kind of job under the sun, and I will show you at some point, when I'm feeling a bit braver, a list of the weird jobs and things that I've done. But let me tell you, I've tried everything, and you know, success in some areas, not so successful in others, but there's definitely a general gist, I think, for me. I'm kind of narrowing down bit by bit, going, it's worth taking a bit of time out for myself now. It's worth spending a time experimenting somewhat to try and identify what that is, that little tickle, you know, that's in there in the back of your brain or somewhere in here maybe, a little tickle that says there's something that you really want to get out, you know. And well, I'm going to try it. What that tickle is, where it will be, where I'll find it, is a bit of a mystery. As you'll know, I've been around and about travelling. Been to France for a few years. I was out in Southeast Asia. I've been to the States. Probably going to travel again. I've been thinking about this. I think part of my happiness involves movement. I said about contacts, being active. For me, that's also about, I don't know, taking in a lot more surroundings, a lot more energies from different places. It doesn't mean being on holiday permanently, although I would love to have a pretty good extended holiday. More like just living other lives. I want to live as many lives as I can within that space. I want to go to a little cute Spanish coastal town and be the little flamenco guitar guy, and I want to go off to, you know, back to Bali and be the cool surfer guy, and I want to go into the heart of, you know, Berlin or Germany, to go to one of these lovely design heavy, super advanced and intellectually stimulating places that you know, I want to be involved in all of these things. And I don't know if it's a reaction to my relatively quiet and I think uninspired childhood. I never really believed or thought as a kid about what I could do, and it took me a long time to really figure out that I could do anything. And I think a lot of people never figure that out. I think looking at how, you know, some people in my friends and family have worked their life, they work hard and, you know, they're happy with their lives and stuff. I think they figured out a bit too late that they didn't have to just take whatever the first job was that they got and do that. They, you know, they didn't have to settle for the minimum wage. They could have gone and tried something else, or, you know, spent a bit of time figuring out. And I always talk about that with them. I probably sound really stuck up to you on the video now and to them when I'm talking to them about it, but I don't mean it like that. I just want everybody to have the same opportunity to experience some of the great joys, you know, and maybe I am missing out on some of the great joys of a calm, happy home life that some people are living as well, whereas I'm living the life of a weird old hairy bachelor guy talking to himself in a park. So what can I say about that? I guess it's all subjective. But yeah, so the plan is to try and work on myself, physically, spiritually, whatever that might be, and in terms of, you know, where am I going, creating something I'm proud of as a gift to the world. Might just be a really good recipe for an apple pie or something. I'm a bit hungry, I admit, so that came out of nowhere, but if I could do that and that was what I was famous for, God, I would be so excited. Rich apple pie in the books. If not, who knows? Tell me what you think. What would you dream about making? What would you make? What kind of pie would you prefer? Anyway, so I'm going to head off back to homeward bound. Right now I've been walking around in circles a wee bit just to give a little bit more time of my ramble. Loads more to ramble about later, but I think I'm just a little bit achy and a little bit sweaty right now, so I need to go and have a good shower and a drink. You know, get rid of, foolishly actually, I'm a bit more achy on the neck than I should have been. Foolishly, when I was doing some stretches, I decided to try and show off a little bit. Now, I used to do, when I was at university days, I don't know if you remember this, in my university days I did capoeira, which is a kind of Brazilian dancing acrobatics thing. Google it if you ever get a chance to do so. But basically I used to be able to do that, did it for a couple of years, and it's quite fun. You do a lot of jumping around, cartwheels, and, you know, little mini side flips or whatever. Can't do it now. That was, you know, 20 23 years ago. Or hang on, I'm not that old. How old? No, 12 years ago. 20 years ago. See, my brain's gone. Fucking gone. But okay, 12 years ago. And yeah, when I was doing that, I was a lot healthier. My body was a lot more in shape, obviously, a lot more limber. Nowadays, not so much. So when I go to the park at 34 and I decide to try and do a little sideways one-handed cartwheel to show off to myself, then it doesn't quite go to plan. I mean, I just about make it, but yeah, it's awkward, and yeah, hurts a little bit more than it should do. Probably should warm up and just not do that for a bit, you know. Maybe one day I'll work on it, but yeah. So my neck right now is telling me go home, get some deep heat, have a shower, and then figure it the fuck out. So anyway, enough rambling, enough chit chat nonsense. It's been lovely. I'll catch you a bit later. Have a good evening. Bye.